They risk losing future federal research funding if they don't abide. The Undersecretary of War says the Department of War has zero tolerance for academic partnerships that compromise our national security. This comes as lawmakers increasingly point out deceptive practices carried out by communist regimes targeting Americans.
The CCP's 2017 national security law makes clear there is no such thing as a truly private company in China. Scientific discoveries, commercial technologies, and academic partnerships are expected to serve the priorities of the CCP.
The audits would target university relationships with the 130 problematic foreign entities on the Pentagon's list, mainly entities from China, Russia, Iran, and rebranded Confucius institutes.
Basically, that say we shouldn't be partnering with these institutions that are affiliated with the Chinese military or have sanctions or human rights violations. And there's these lists available. And unfortunately, many of our research public dollars have gone to fund initiatives joining with people on those entity lists.
The Department of War says it's working with partners in Congress. The institutions must report back to the Pentagon by August 31st. David Lamb, NTD News.
A Chinese robotics giant is facing new scrutiny over the technology behind its machines. Researchers and a former U.S. defense official say the company based designs on innovations funded by the U.S. military. Here's a closer look.
In the race to mass produce robot dogs, China is beating the United States. Philadelphia-based Ghost Robotics developed its Vision 60 robots from Army-funded academic research in quadruped movement. The company wasn't alone. China's Unitree Robotics, among the world's biggest producers of humanoid and canine robots, based designs for its most successful four-legged machines on the same U.S. military-funded breakthroughs. Researchers involved in the projects told Reuters.
This is technology that at its core was developed at U.S. universities, funded by U.S. taxpayer dollars.
Gavin Keneally is the CEO of Ghost Robotics, which has supplied the U.S. military with its Vision 60s for surveillance and search operations.
There were papers published, and then these papers were very closely studied by Chinese companies like Unitree, and these principles were put to work and then scaled in an exceptional way using amazing manufacturing and supply chain technology, to where now you see companies like Unitree and other companies in China are shipping way more legged robots than American companies are.
Unitree did nothing underhanded in using the research, which was openly published to stimulate progress, a common practice. But it helped propel the company to global market dominance. And the company's imminent Shanghai stock market debut has drawn frenzied demand. Unitree did not respond to requests for comment. It is said in public statements that its products are intended for civilian use. And in 2022, the firm, alongside U.S. companies, pledged not to weaponize robots. But another company's robotic wolves were displayed at a military parade in Beijing last year. And Chinese state television has shown an armed version of a Unitree robot alongside Chinese troops. Publishing U.S.-funded research presents a broader issue for American firms competing with Chinese manufacturing, which has developed at lightning pace over the past decade in industries critical to national security, backed by subsidies and a tolerance for heavy losses. Here's Hugh Grant Chapman, a fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, or CSIS.
I think the biggest factor in China's advantage for developing its robotics industry is its massive industrial base, its vast ecosystem of manufacturing, factories, and things that provide both kind of demand side support for its robotics industry, as well as cheap access to all the components it needs to manufacture those. When I look at where the U.S. has fallen behind, I see that loss and hollowing out of the manufacturing sector as being a really big driver of why the kind of corresponding national security applications have fallen behind as well.
The only way to escape China's chokehold on the robotics supply chain is to work with international partners, says Keneally.
There's no way we're going to do this completely on our own as the U.S. We need to work closely with our allies. In particular, at Ghost, we work very closely with companies in Korea and Taiwan and Japan, where they have some of this manufacturing and supply chain expertise. So there's absolutely no path forward without them.
The U.S. Federal Communications Commission says it's preparing the country to, quote, deliver on President Trump's vision to lead the world on the next generation of technologies. Chinese humanoid robots face financial challenges. More than 300 companies are heading to Beijing this week to show off their latest humanoid robots. But it's raising a big question. Will these machines actually turn a profit? Here's more.
The World Robot Conference runs Wednesday through Sunday with roughly 2,000 exhibits and more than 150 new products expected. Investors are pouring money into the industry, but profits have yet to be proven. Many of these humanoid robots cost up to $70,000 each, according to Berlin-based think tank Merix. One Chinese brokerage estimates a robot would need 2 years to pay for itself. And that gap is raising concerns about whether the industry can support hundreds of competing companies. Earlier this year, several major robotics firms have reported significant losses while spending heavily on research and development. UBTech, for example, saw its humanoid robot revenue jump more than 2,200% last year. But despite that growth, the company still reported a loss of roughly $110 million. Analysts say companies that cannot prove their robots create real value for customers could eventually be pushed out. Robotics analyst Georg Stieler estimates more than half of humanoid robots produced this year could end up collecting training data instead of doing real work. So while the demonstrations may look impressive, the real test is whether these robots can eventually turn a profit.
China-made vehicles are largely absent from the U.S. market due to tariffs and restrictions. However, Waymo, a company that develops self-driving car technology, has imported some vehicles made in China despite tariffs exceeding 100%. NTD's Sean Marshall has the details on why these vehicles are so sought after.
Chinese vehicles have been effectively blocked from U.S. markets with tariffs at 127%. But that hasn't stopped Alphabet, Google's parent company, from importing Zeekr-based Ojai robotaxis into the U.S. for its Waymo fleet.
I think that's kind of the funny thing, is that while things are so cheap to be developed and built in China, producing somewhere else like in the U.S., it could cost more than 100% to build those cars here, even something equivalent. It's just more difficult. We have more laws with things like OSHA and things like that. We have to pay minimum wage. And in China, they can bypass a lot of these laws, and they can use all sorts of different methods to make things as cheaply as possible, plus the fact that it's backed by the Chinese government, which again reduces the cost for them to produce it and also for people outside of the U.S. to buy it.
Senator Bernie Moreno of Ohio has been fighting against Chinese imports over security and supply chain issues. He says, I think if you substituted the word China with Iran today, you'd say, that's nuts. Of course, we don't want any of our auto supply chain to come out of Iran. That would be insane. Or out of North Korea or Russia. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
The U.S. Navy is spending nearly $23 billion to increase production of one of its key long-range strike weapons. A new contract with Raytheon aims to push Tomahawk production above 1,000 missiles a year. The 7-year agreement with Raytheon is worth $22.9 billion. The production is expected to rise from roughly 60 missiles a year to more than 1,000 annually. Raytheon says it has already delivered 3 times more Tomahawks in the first half of this year than during the same period last year. Hung Kao, acting Secretary of the U.S. Navy, says, quote, guaranteeing our naval and joint forces have the lethal firepower they need to deter aggression and protect the homeland is paramount. The Department of War says the investment aims to speed up weapons deliveries and strengthen the U.S. munitions industrial base. Coming up, China is seeing 0 investment deals from 10 of the world's biggest private capital firms this year, compared with a dozen deals just 5 years ago. So what's driving the sharp decline in foreign private investment? And U.S.-South Korea joint drills are underway, targeting North Korea and China. Why did President Trump order a reduction in military exercises, and will it impact relations with South Korea?
This latest sort of kerfuffle between President Trump and South Korea is not something that just came out of the blue.
More on that after the break here on China in Focus. Welcome back to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. 10 of the world's largest private capital firms have made no new equity investments in China so far this year, at least not publicly. That's according to the Financial Times. Why are foreign investments in China declining? And what does new data say about where the Chinese economy is headed? NTD's Juliet Song has the story.
A drop in foreign investments flowing into China. In just 5 years, the number of investment deals that some of the world's biggest buyout firms made in China went from a dozen down to 0 this year. Milton Israti is the chief economist at Vested, a financial communications agency. He says the deals likely dissipated for 2 reasons.
The only growth in China in these days is in the government-sponsored high-tech electric vehicles area, and that means that the government is being much stricter about investment flows than it would have been if it was the production of toys or shoes or things like that. So the government is interfering, the government in Beijing is interfering much more with the investing, and of course the investors are very concerned about that because their main object is in how to get out when the time comes.
Israti noted that the trend is also a reflection of the investment environment in China not doing well.
So we've had reports recently that even private investing in China, this is quite aside from the government, private investing from private firms on capital projects is way down. And this is an indication that there just aren't that many opportunities in China the way the economy is today.
There are investment opportunities in areas like AI, but this is where the Chinese regime appears conflicted. On one hand, Beijing has restricted foreign investments in sensitive industries, forcing Meta to unwind its $2 billion acquisition of Chinese-founded AI firm Manus. But on the other hand, Israti says China also desperately needs more money to build AI and other high-tech industries, so it is looking for funds.
Beijing has allowed the issue of more panda bonds in the Hong Kong market, which is a way of channeling foreign capital into China. They've also encouraged Chinese firms to go abroad to issue bonds and not so much equities, but bonds in order to get money.
It's a difficult situation for China to be in.
They both want the money and want the control. And of course, in China, they might be able to have their way both ways. But with foreigners, no, they're just not going to put the money in if they don't think they can get it out and they don't think they can control it. So they've dried up a source of funds that they really desperately need.
Zooming out, data released Monday shows China's GDP growth slowed to a 3.5-year low in the second quarter of this year. Of the engines driving the economy forward, only exports are going strong. The rest are struggling, especially the property market.
Property values have fallen 25%. That has really hit Chinese homeowners, and that's a large part of the population. Their household net worth has shrunk, and that means they're not consuming.
He noted China's economy is distorted, and over-reliance on exports for growth presents a risk. Following the tariff war, China has been shifting its exports away from the U.S. and selling more to other countries.
Those sources are not going to last forever. The Europeans are already putting on tariffs, and countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, and Vietnam have complained that their own development is being hamstrung by China's presence. So depending on exports has a short future for China, and that's all it has now.
Though for the United States, Israti says tariffs have, in some respects, insulated the country from China's economy and made it less vulnerable to China. Juliet Song, NTD News.
President Trump reduced joint military exercises with South Korea that kicked off Monday. In a Truth Social post Sunday, the president linking his order to what he characterizes as Seoul's refusal to help with Iran. President Trump said his order was tied to South Korea's refusal to help with Iran. Take a listen.
When I called him, I said, would you like to give us a little hand? We don't need help with Iran, but if you'd like, give us a hand with Iran. He said, no thanks. And I said, wait a minute, we have 39,000 soldiers over there guarding you from Kim Jong-un, your next door neighbor, and you're not going to help us on a very easy military operation in Iran? That's strange. No, we'd rather not get involved. I say, well, why are we involved in helping you?
The Ultra Freedom Shield drills started Monday as scheduled and are set to run for 10 days. It's not yet clear how President Trump's order could affect training already underway. To discuss the U.S.-South Korea relationship, I spoke on Tiffany Meyer Tonight on Monday with retired Marine Colonel Grant Newsham. He's also a senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy and the author of When China Attacks. Now, President Trump has again expressed frustration with South Korea's position during the Iran war. Has that deteriorated the defense alliance and the broader relationship between Washington and Seoul? If so, how serious is that situation?
Well, it has somewhat, of course, because the South Koreans, said, well, now we don't want to help you in the Persian Gulf or with Iran, without saying, even though we get a ton of our oil from the Middle East, we're very happy to have you all take care of this. The South Koreans are not the only ones who said this. Japan said it as well. And just about every other one of America's erstwhile friends said the same thing. The South Korean ambassador ought to go tell that to the Rotary Club in Youngstown, Ohio, and see how they take it. So this has caused some friction between the two allies. But this has been long in coming. This isn't the only thing that has caused some friction in the U.S.-South Korea relationship. South Korean leftists, starting just for reference, go back to Moon Jae-in, the president of South Korea from about 2017, 16 or so to 2022. And he was a hardcore leftist. And he was not very happy that the Americans, for example, put THAAD anti-missile batteries into South Korea. He got very close to China. He sort of put on a good face sometimes, but he was a hardcore leftist. Lee Jae-myung is even worse, if you can believe that. Lee has said, well, what China does to Taiwan, we don't really care. He's referred to U.S. forces in South Korea as an occupying force since his administration took over. They've been picking a fight with the Americans over management of the DMZ, the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. They have also got a prime minister whose older brother has immense influence, said that the Trump administration is the apex of Yankee imperialism. The prime minister himself was imprisoned as a younger man for anti-American, anti-South Korea activities, as was the head of the then head of the Democratic Party of Korea. So this administration in South Korea and the previous one before President Yoon, who was impeached and imprisoned, these were very serious leftist administrations that did not really care all that much for the United States, even though most South Koreans do. So this latest sort of kerfuffle between President Trump and South Korea is not something that just came out of the blue.
Asian media outlets, meanwhile, are reporting that South Korean officials are hoping to ease tensions with the U.S. through diplomatic efforts. Do you think this can be resolved through diplomacy, or is President Trump expecting more from Seoul?
I think he expects more. I don't know what exactly the South Koreans would say about this, particularly given that track record, and they have never explained the comments that they have made about American forces as occupiers, the apex of Yankee imperialism. They've never explained that sort of thing. And I'm not sure that sweet talk is going to do it unless the Americans are just willing to accept it and say, okay, we understand, everything's fine. But in terms of addressing that underlying issue of hardcore South Korean leftists trying to take the country where most people don't want it to go, in South Korea or in the United States, I don't think that diplomacy is going to solve the problem, but rather some really changed behavior.
That's all for today's China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. If you have any feedback on the show or have something you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at chinainfocus@ntd.com. We'd love to hear from you. For On the Clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
All right, we're live. Thanks for coming, everybody. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're doing a Frazetta study tonight, and actually on Eric's screen, which is right over there, you can see the picture that we're going to draw. Logistically, I don't really know how to get that up on the screen so we can see it the whole time. I'll have it up on the screen in front of me, so I'll see it, and you'll see the picture as we go along, and you can find that picture pretty easily on Google. So if you want to follow along and you want the reference, just look up that on Google and you'll find that one. It's a very famous picture from them. So what we're going to be doing. Oh, and did I say thank you everybody for coming? I think I did. But thank you again. Good to see Henry Jeremick here and Extreme Babies here. San Andreas, Eddie. I'm just reading who I can see right now, but I know a bunch of you guys are here. Russ is here. So yeah, we're going to jump into this. Before I do though, I just want to quickly mention our sponsor, Comics on Coffee. I'm going to show you what I'm drinking right now. Check this out. So this is Sinestro from Green Lantern Corps coffee, dark roast. It's open actually because this is what I'm drinking right now, so I already opened it. But yeah, it's got awesome artwork on both sides. Very, very cool. This one I think is my favorite actually so far. This is awesome. I also have J. Fabok Batman coffee, and I have.
Does it taste like J. Fabok?
It tastes just like him. Yep. I want to say, is that Kurt Swan? You think?
Maybe.
Maybe. I'm not sure. But Superman coffee and an awesome looking picture, and you get a panel from a classic Superman comic on the back. And I've got a bunch. I've got Green Lantern coffee, which is great. I had one of these before too. It's really good. And oh wait, hold on. Blue Beetle coffee. Haven't tried that one yet. That's a new one. And Lord of the Rings coffee, which I also have not tried, but it looks great, and so I'm gonna have that pretty soon too. So there you go. Also, they sent me a mug, a Comics on Coffee mug, which is very. Ryan does art, says Neil Adams art is great.
It's Neil Adams.
Okay. It's Neil Adams. Thank you, guys. All right. So this is my Comics on Coffee mug, which they sent. Very, very cool. And the coolest part, it has Frank Miller Batman on the back. I mean, look at that. It's pretty awesome. And you can get this on their website, comicsoncoffee.com. Check it out. I have a discount code. Just type in David Finch. I think that's it. I'm pretty sure. I apologize. I think Russ knows. All right. So that's it. That's our moment for our sponsor. Thank you so much, Comics on Coffee. It's great stuff, and thanks for sending all this stuff. And definitely check them out. They're a family-owned company, and they have really been great to me and to our channel. So, all right, we're gonna jump into it. Eric's he's getting ahead.
Yeah, David's so fast. I have to kind of.
All right, here we go. Let me get my reference up. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and draw this from the ground up. Shoot.
What tools are you guys using?
Well, right now I'm just using a pencil. So this is just my regular drafting pencil. And I'm going to get this sketched in really quickly. So just start with the head kind of here. And I want to keep them pretty small. We're going to do this in 2 hours. And I've done all of these so far in 2 hours. Oh, you know what? I should show you guys. Okay, so let me show you what I've done so far. So I've done a few of these. And this is the first one. This is the second one. Third one, and this is the fourth one. We're painting a male figure today, and actually, I'm going to be honest with you guys. We're painting a male figure because it is so incredibly difficult to find Frazetta a female figure reference that isn't naked, and I can't really do that on a show. So
I like the third one.
What's that?
I like the third one the most.
Yeah, well,
you got her tush pretty good.
Well, it's all Frazetta, and the original is a lot nicer. And that's gonna be arms a little low. That's gonna be the case with all these, unfortunately.
Well, you can't compare yourself to Frazetta. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to, and that's why we're doing these studies. If I was Frazetta, I wouldn't need to do this. We would just, be Frazetta.
Frazetta-esque.
Frazetta, yeah. So I'm just going to basically rough this in. Get his body in here.
What's been the most difficult part so far in when you've been trying to, I guess, emulate his style?
His tones are, while they're really stark and they're really like in this picture here that we're looking at, unfortunately you can't really see it. His light to darks are very, very clear, and you can see his shadows very clearly defined, but it's actually really subtle. And I've done Frazetta studies before, but doing painting studies is a whole other thing. And that's aside from just his use of color. I'll look at a picture like this one here is relatively monochromatic, I would say, honestly. But I know from experience that it's really, really not. And look at this. Look how far I came. Dang it.
So the colors for you is what's most difficult?
The color, but color is so dependent on tone also. And like arm, I think I'm going to put that at a bit of a higher angle. This is always the hardest part, is just making sure this stage really works, and then everything else kind of flows from there pretty well. Well, I say that. We'll see how this goes. Every picture that I've done so far has been like this high wire active. I feel like I'm failing, and then it starts to come together. By the way, I want to mention too, we are painting in a method that we learned from Greg Staples. We had Greg as a guest several months ago, and he was an incredible guest, and honestly, too advanced. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but like we just weren't ready. And he taught us stuff. Like what he did is he really taught me how to paint properly, and Eric, both of us. And it's taken me a little while to finally accept the fact that I can get so much out of it, so much more than what I was doing. And part of the reason it's so hard to accept is it's not more difficult, according to Greg, he says, but definitely a real challenge for me to get my head around. It certainly has been so far. But I'm feeling like every picture is going a little bit easier. Once we start with paint, you'll really see I'm going to be building up from light, and I'm used to building up from a mid-tone and using my like a basic underpainting, just a wash as a mid-tone, and it makes establishing lights easier. But it also really kind of mutes out and homogenizes the color in a way that can be fine, but it's not what I'm trying to get here. And Greg was just able to get such incredible color from what he was doing, something that we just couldn't achieve. And so that's why I'm really focused on learning how to do it properly.
This foot is a killer. I may just leave it out.
Put some smoke around it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a giant rock there.
It's in the front of him, so you can't just do a cape. But yeah, you got rocks, you got smoke. There's a lot of tricks.
I'll just spill a bunch of paint there or something.
I'm gonna say, Eric, for the foot, you really want to just start to like think in terms of just shapes a little bit. If it feels like, oh, it's really,
that is the worst angle for me with a foot right there.
Yeah. See, this is why you should be doing it. And look, you know what? We're trying to get a study done, and we're all under pressure, so I don't want to give you too hard a time. But all right, so that's basically. I'm just gonna kind of look it over and make sure that things are kind of where I want them. Chin's gonna be here. I'm gonna work my way up through his face to make sure it lines up with his hand proper, his arm properly. The better I can get this stage, the easier everything really is to draw anyway. Once we paint, it's a whole other story.
Are you using watercolors?
Acrylic.
Acrylic.
He actually has a lot of watercolor, Frazetta, more than I really realized.
Didn't he do a lot of his clumps in watercolor?
He did, and gouache. Something I really want to do is we had Brian Stelfreeze on. I think he was the last stream that we did, and we really learned a lot about how to work with acrylic like watercolor, with watercolor also. And I want to start experimenting with some of Frazetta's watercolor pictures and see what I can get using Brian's technique, because it was such a great technique. That's going to work well enough for me to get started.
Vinicius says it's good to see Eric's improvement.
It really is, yeah. I mean, Eric doesn't appreciate it much. He appreciates the comment, I'm sure, but yeah, he's been improving like gangbusters, and you don't see it when you're in the middle of it. So, yeah, it is true.
Yeah, all right. Definitely do appreciate it. Thank you.
So what I'm going to do here is really try and capture as much of this as possible. Given the time constraint is, I need to be able to draw this and paint it, kind of, all within 2 hours. So it's a little bit
daunting.
Yeah, a little. And I really do try to hard deadline myself to 2 hours with these, because I have my actual job. So I managed to do, well, 4 of them really within the last week. And, with 2 hours, it's just, look, this is my hobby. It's my defense. I'm not getting work done while I do these, I know, but you have to take time for yourself too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, when Dave and I draw together, we sketch super fast and get down to the nitty gritty, just to try and get painting. Because the goal is to just put paint on paper. And Dave and I have been talking a lot about doing small studies like this. And the reason why you want to do that is because it is small and it is fast. You're getting to learn quicker than if you were to, do a 20-hour paint. You're knocking these out in, 1 to 2 hours, and then learning what you need to learn, and then going to the next one and improving on the mistakes that you made. So that's the goal anyway.
Yeah.
What size paper are you guys working on? Someone was asking. It kind of looks kind of small in relation to the.
It's pretty small. If you look at my hand, it's not huge. And this is Arch's paper, and I just tore a piece of it off.
Yeah, and also working smaller here kind of helps too. So you're not having to make these, again, big elaborate paintings within reason.
Within reason. By the way, I'm kind of going a little bit rough here too, and I'm gonna end up having to clean things up a little bit and probably make a few changes. So I'm really just kind of getting things established still. I'm going pretty dark because I want to make sure you guys can see it. I'd probably normally go a little lighter than this, just so I'm not having to erase something too dark, but it makes it really difficult to see. So I'm going dark, but I'm gonna refine this a little bit before we
erase that whole thing.
Did you guys watch the Deadpool trailer today?
No, but you know what I have been watching? I've been watching Fallout.
Oh, is that good?
Awesome.
You know that the sales of Fallout and people playing has gone up again?
I've been thinking about it.
I have 4, and I'm thinking of installing it again.
Yeah, well, I haven't had as much time. I've been cooking a lot, so that's what I'm kind of doing with my what would be video game time. I'm trying to do something a little more productive. But by the way, today
it's good for your mental health,
It is.
Are you playing it, Jason?
I bought the one of the first few. I forget which one, and I didn't last long. I'm still stuck on the zombies, the Call of Duty one.
Oh yeah.
I've just been playing a ton of Helldivers.
Which one was it?
Helldivers.
Is that a different game type?
Yeah, it's a 4-player co-op, and you're fighting Terminids, which is basically like the insects on Starship Troopers, if you want to think of it that way. And then they have automatons, which is like Terminator. So you and three other buddies are defending Super Earth, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that. I haven't tried that one.
Pretty fun game.
I always have to run around asking people to be part of their group.
Yeah, playing with randoms is always the rub.
I'm antisocial even online.
Well, I'm antisocial enough. I do not play those games. There's no way. Any game where I have to interact with other people, I'm out. That's playtime.
Well, I used to play like NHL and the sports games, and I would get so angry when some young kid would, beat me up and then start trash talking me, throw the controller through the window.
I want to mention quickly
Yeah.
what I'm doing here, and you can't see it unfortunately because I don't have the reference really readily available to see, but his chest lines up perfectly really with the peak of his arm here, of his tricep, and I'm really trying to be aware of those kinds of things. It makes it really easy to very quickly get your kind of coordinates down while you're drawing. To make something like I don't normally have to, like normally I'm making it up, so it doesn't matter. But if you're looking at reference, something that can be a real help is just being aware of those kinds of things and then just making sure to line up your work using those.
Are you drawing a scabbard and all that?
Well, I'll draw it in and we'll see if I get a chance to paint it.
Yeah. Little loincloth. Always find it the hardest to get back to those once you're concentrating on the big picture and trying to get all the local colors in.
Yep.
Always leave that stuff, unfortunately, all the way. It's too late.
In other news, your book is almost ready to be shipped.
Oh, great.
So
there you go. For those of you guys that have ordered the book, and thank you. It's on the way. To us, anyway. It's
to
gonna,
us, yeah.
Yeah, it'll still take a little bit, but that's great.
All right, Dave. I'm gonna take a breath for you. You're getting super detailed with you. You're still gonna use your brown umber pencil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So something that Dave and I have switched to. We used to really go very contrasty using a black colored pencil, and we found that just in experimentation and just deep thoughts, I guess, that using a burnt umber pencil just works a little bit better, just to liven up shadows a bit more. So we'll be using that right after this step.
Yes. Yeah, and the drawing will really kind of come together. Like right now, this is ugly, and I'm aware. But for me to really finish this is actually a little counterproductive. So I'm just kind of going with it and allowing it to just be a bit of a simple contour drawing right now. And I can see I'm already got a...
Yeah, I've come off of it.
That right there. That right there. This is where I used to do these all the time. And it's amazing how much you think you have things established and you really don't. Like that right there. That's better. It's a better angle. All right.
Does he have an innie or an outie? That's the question.
It's in shadow. It's an unknown. I don't see a dash of light there, so I'm guessing it's an innie.
Yeah, it's gonna be an innie.
But if Jason really wants me to, I can add
I'm just curious.
That highlight there.
Got to be anatomically correct, or
Well, the real question is for me, what reference did he use, if any, with these figures? I know, I mean, he could just draw it out of his head. I know he used reference because I've got books of his where you can see him modeling or using his friends. So he does use reference, but I think for the most part, his figures are really created.
So Jason was thinking it's Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, I think so. I think that face is very much Clint Eastwood. And so,
There was pictures of Clint with Frazetta, right? Am I
Yeah.
mistaken? I've seen that somewhere.
Yeah, there's pictures of Clint Eastwood with them. There's Sylvester Stallone. There's the Star Wars guy.
Hamill?
Lucas?
George Lucas. Yes, thank you. Forgetting George Lucas.
Mark Hamill? I don't know. You can go.
Not Mark Hamill, but yeah, George Lucas. So yeah, until I kind of get this whole thing roughed, can't really assess it.
As far as if you like the anatomy, if you like the layout, if you like the.
If I feel like I kind of captured it properly, or if I'm off somewhere really badly. But so far, I think I'm all right. Hopefully, that's not famous last words.
Well, it's art. I mean, it's all subjective. No, at the end of the day.
No,
it's not.
No,
or at least to you, it's not.
It's not to anyone.
Why not? Because if I look at it and say that's amazing, I love it. But you look at it and say, I drew this knee wrong, I drew this foot wrong.
Yeah, but objectively, it's not good. So you might like it, but it is objectively not as good as it could be. And I think I could explain why it's not as good as it could be, and you would agree, which makes it objective. My opinion.
Maybe.
I think most of modern art is designed to be objectively trash.
How come?
Well, because William Bergerot took months to do a painting. Whereas, okay, look, and I don't want to conflate too much because I'm a huge, huge fan of all of the Impressionists. I love their stuff, but they could do a painting in no time compared to like a Bergerot, or like some of the great pre-Raphaelites that were big in the salon at the time in the 1800s. And then it just kind of went from there. Once the idea behind the art became more important than the art, all bets were off. And now you had critics that could just decide what was valuable, and they were never letting that power go. And that's where we are now. That's my opinion.
Maybe. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I feel like in part that's true, but also you just find collectors now that will find value in it for one reason or the other, whether it's.
Well, most collectors have no taste.
Well,
they just like what you tell them to like.
Hansel has a super chat for you. Always feel so inspired by these study videos. How many hours do you recommend at a minimum of practice every day? Obviously, more the better.
Okay, the more the better. For sure, definitely. The more the better. But you also have to deal with reality. And so I would say, look at it this way. If you only practice a couple of times a week, will you get better? Yeah, but it's going to be very difficult. If you're practicing a couple hours a day, it's a commitment. I mean, when I was learning, I practiced probably 10 hours a day, realistically. But I lived in my mother's basement. I had no family. I had no bills. I wasn't even in school. I had dropped out of high school, which I don't recommend, but I did. So I had a lot of time. I also had a deadline. They were very much like you're going to have to find a job and you have X amount of time or we're kicking you out. So the pressure was on.
Well, how long do you spend at the table daily when you're on your deadlines?
It'd be easier for me to just say, okay, so I drive my son to school. That takes an hour. It's a half an hour there, half an hour back. This is the price we're paying for living out in the country. And I get home and I start working at around, it ends up being just after 9. I work until about 3:30. And then I spend time with Meredith, my wife. And then I work at night too. So for a couple hours anyway. So it's not the kind of hours I was able to spend when I was younger. That's having family will do that. But
how do you stay up late? I'm sorry, I think I missed that last part of what time.
Well, that's the other problem. I can't stay up late anymore. I used to, but I can't do it anymore.
Well, you have to be up to, be functional. So
Yeah, and that's really what's happening is I'm just finding as I'm getting older, my level of function is dropping if I don't get sleep. So
I'm with you.
yeah, we're not young anymore. So yeah, if you're young, there's another factor. Take advantage. Stay up 36 hours. It's fine. You can do it. But when you get older, that's a lot harder.
Just as a side note, we will be at C2E2 this weekend. In case anyone is in the Chicagoland area, come and visit us.
Are you going there?
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm driving actually, which is nice. It's close enough I can just drive, which is great.
There's a marshmallow cafe. It's going to be amazing.
I'm on a diet.
That's not for you. It's for me and Isaac.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Yeah, I'm bringing my son, so yeah, he'll definitely. He's not on a diet.
Henry's asking if you had a chance to talk to Klaus about coming back to Monday Night Draw.
You know what? I haven't talked to him. Is he going to be in?
Yeah, he'll be there with us this weekend. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have him on again. Like he was such a great guest, wasn't he? He was great.
He's always fun to talk to. He's a fountain of knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah, he's great. We had a real great stream with him.
Yep. Yeah, I would love to do that again for sure. So I'm trying to, as quickly as possible, just basically establish my darkest darks. I don't want to get too carried away. I do know though that the darks are very brown in this picture, so I can kind of get away with using a lot of brown. If they're really not, or if they're really light, like if the picture's a higher key, then I can't do this. I have to be a little more careful. So this one, I think I should be all right.
Yeah, last painting session we had, I went way too dark, and it took the rest of the time just to work all the opaques back. So
yep.
With the Stelfreeze one?
No, Dave and I did the Frazetta study on the weekend. And I kind of botched that one, so hopefully I don't do that here.
Yeah,
at the end, it came together at the end, but it was way.
That's how my first one went, Eric. Like, I went way too dark, and I feel like I'm learning a little bit more each time, and I'm going to be honest, I feel very confident right now. Like, I think this is going to work out and it's going to be easy. And I'm a little worried too, because I know how that goes. This will
like
be the one.
Mike Tyson that says they're nervous before every fight, right? If you're not nervous, something's going to go wrong.
Yeah, well, there you go. So you guys are, the last ones have actually kind of worked out all right. I was decently happy, and they're not Frazetta,
I'm sure it'll work out. It's just a matter of time. Sometimes it takes a bit more noodling than other times.
Well, and that is going to happen with these. Is there'll be a certain amount of time where it's just looking like it's not really kind of coming together, and then it starts to. Ideally, I mean, it had so far. We'll see. So, Jason, are you a fan of modern art?
I'm a fan of good art, or art that I like. I wouldn't say, I like a little bit of everything. I'm very eclectic, I would say.
I'm very opinionated and closed-minded.
I don't think that's true. I mean, I've seen stuff that makes me wonder why, they price it the way they do, or why people buy it, or that it's that price. Someone spending $20,000 on that didn't quite make sense to me, but at the end of the day, it's what they like and they find value in it. So
yeah, and you know what? It's bringing people pleasure. So
yeah,
not for me to judge.
No, if you like it, then enjoy it. I mean, I don't understand the banana thing, or a peeled banana, on a canvas, and someone buying it for $100,000. That doesn't quite add up for me. But.
I mean, I'll say this: art has no intrinsic value. It doesn't do anything other than be art. And so, strictly speaking, yes, it is subjective in that way. I just disagree with the priorities of the, what I'd like to see is some of the old masters of illustration be more widely respected and widely known, versus some of the stuff like Andy Warhol is, it's not for me. What can I say?
Right. Well, I think more comic illustrators are being recognized in mainstream, I would say, with prices fetching hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's hard to ignore, I would think.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. It is true. See, I should really shut up.
Well, everyone's got their, their perspective on it. I don't know. We had this conversation. We were at an art expo this weekend with Klaus and Lee Weeks and a few other guys, and just talking about the art in general, and looking around the room and seeing really expensive stuff.
Yeah.
And just saying, well, I only buy art that I like because I like to look at it and I want to hang it on my wall. And if it happens to go up in value, then amazing. And if not, then that's fine too. But there are people that look at it as investments, which is okay as well.
Well, in terms of investment of the stuff you have, would you say you've been more successful more often or less? Because you buy what you like, and
yeah,
that's not always going to necessarily.
Yeah, I guess it gets to a point where if you're spending so much money, like some of these guys are 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, like it gets to be expensive. Then they take a look at it and say, okay, well, if something happens, can I sell it? Can I get money out of it to help pay for a car wreck? Whatever. Hopefully,
right.
Then you start looking at it that way. But I never buy anything just because I think it's a good buy. That I'll make money on it. At least generally, I don't think I have in the past. I want to look at it. I want to enjoy it. I want to hang it up and show it off.
Yeah, I have to admit, I've never bought anything for an investment. I'm not thinking, oh well, this will be worth nothing, and that's fine. Like, it's nice that it's worth something if it is, but yeah, I buy the stuff I like. Kind of moving through here and just getting the stuff kind of thrown in. I'm being pretty loose, but most of this is really going to be much more established with color. So I don't want to get carried away. Especially, like Eric was saying, it's very quick and easy to get yourself in a position where you've just gone too dark. And that's not a problem, but it kind of is. Like, it's really difficult. I find it really, really difficult to recover from that.
Is that not what erasers are for?
Well, you can't do that with paint. What you can do is just paint lighter over it and then darken it back down. But then it becomes like this whole job. Like, it's, Gabriel Delato does pictures on, no, not everything, but he does this quite a bit. He does pictures on a black surface. And to me, that is like some kind of magic.
Yeah.
It's incredible that he can do it. It's just so counterintuitive. And, he also paints on white. Like, he's a master.
Yeah, agreed.
So, yeah, there's that. But I find that incredibly difficult.
Well, we'll get to visit with him in Italy next month.
Yeah, Lake Como. It's coming up.
He's a super nice guy as well. So
I've met him, yeah. I haven't talked to him in, it's been a long, long time. But
we'll have to see if we can put him on the stream, yeah?
If you would do it, we would definitely have him. I'm sure you guys would love to see him. But you guys, I mean, you guys watching.
Yeah. Well, me too. But Larry's going to be with us in Dallas.
Oh, nice. We'll see you there.
We'll be hosting a dinner that Fan Expo is going to post up on their website, I think, later this week. So keep an eye out. We're going to have dinner with Dave and Arthur and the crew. So if you're interested in coming hang out with us, having a nice meal.
Arthur is Arthur Adams.
Arthur Adams, yep.
Well, I'd like to just take a moment to point out that I know. Blows me away all the time. You know, I think the first time I ever talked to him was probably 6 or 7 years ago, and Meredith just went up and she was talking to Joyce, his wife, and so she basically forced me to talk to him. And he's the nicest guy in the world. Like he's very approachable. He's great, but
yeah, super fun to hang out with.
Yeah,
makes conventions a lot of fun to be at. Eric, did you lose your accent?
Yeah, I sound like Jason. Yeah.
You gotta sound stupider then. You gotta get that American.
I think Gord Oxbog's asking. That's Jason Schechter, and this is me. So I have not lost my accent. No. As hard as I try, it's still there.
So I'm trying to get all these shapes basically thrown in as quickly as I can, but still not.
I'm trying to delay the inevitable.
Basically what it comes down to, and you know this, Eric, the more you fudge this stuff, the harder the job is later on. And the more clear this is obviously, you know. By the way, I talked to Eric Gist.
Oh, yeah?
And he's going to be in Lake Como, so we'll see him there. I tried to get him to come on tonight. He's busy. He's got deadlines.
Where is he from?
He's
California?
Yeah, California. But yeah, I'd really like to have him come on again. Honestly, if Eric would have come on and done this, we would all just sat back and watched him do it.
Yeah.
You want to see a real master at work. That would be Eric. He's incredible.
You know, the more I'm doing this day, the more I'm so skittish. I'm gonna go so light on my wash.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely going light. You know, I just find it's easier for me to build it than to fix it.
I think Greg Staples said he was gonna tune in.
Oh, really?
That won't be nerve-wracking at all.
Well, you know what? Greg is he's in the UK, so he won't be watching live. So if we really blow it, he'll see it, but at least there'll be a delay. We'll be long gone. Apologies, Greg, because we're trying to represent Greg's technique here as much as, you know what, Greg's technique is like any artist. It is so much dependent on his mastery, the medium, and years of knowledge and all that kind of thing. So while we're working with his technique, it's not going to be Greg. It can't be. We're not him. So
yeah, he's just so precise and so efficient.
But he's also an incredible teacher, and while we might not be able to be Greg, we certainly learned a lot, and I think it's paying dividends here. I think so. All right, so I'm basically ready to go. I mean, that's my guy kind of drawn in, and thank goodness, because my pencil's almost done. So I'm going to lay out some paint. I'm going to start with, this is my burnt sienna. Let's see. Burn umber. Come out of the thing. Pyro red. Eric keeps telling me that one of these reds isn't good, and I can't remember which, so hopefully it's not
Naphthol.
Naphthol, okay, good.
Naphthol crimson is a little bit fugitive. But...
All right. Yellow oxide. That's this one right here. White. I'm not really going in particular order. I'm kind of grabbing these just as I go. I use a lot of white. So I got a big, huge one. I also have Turner's yellow. Which I like because it's yellow, but it's still, so I can go a little brighter than I can with yellow oxide, but not blow it out with yellow. Got my yellow orange. I can just go a little bit hotter with my my yellow, and then I've got my actual orange, I guess. So a little bit more. I just find I could use red, and I do use red, but orange is kind of a nice thing to have. This is my phthalo green, which I'm going to be using for the shadows. The shadows are very brown, but in order to make them darker, like I won't be using black. my alizarin crimson, which I'll be using with my phthalo green. So if you mix alizarin crimson and phthalo green, you get black, or pretty close. So it works
I think
well.
I'm going to use burnt umber and ultramarine for this one, dude.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I'm not seeing much green.
Oh, here we go, ultramarine. I'm going to grab some of that too.
Ultramarine and burnt umber gives you a nice blend.
Oh, I might actually just do that. I've got my burnt umber out. So I might actually go that way instead. That is a good call. And I've got my raw umber, which is really good for cooling skin tones without shifting them. Sorry about my paint jars farting. All right, I think that should do it for paint. Oh, you know what? A little bit of medium magenta, just because he's got his little underwear on there. And I've got brilliant purple. And this is stuff I could mix, I know, but
Nothing wrong with convenience colors.
Yeah, that's right. Convenience colors. There you go. All right. So I've got my brush, which I didn't clean since the last time. And then I'm going to use this. So basically what I'm going to be doing, Eric, you're already going. I can't keep up.
Dave, you're so fast. I gotta every opportunity I get, I'm I'm putting the pedal down. Dave is very efficient, so.
Okay. The other thing I'm going to use is a little matte medium. I used this last time. Eric was recommending it. We learned this actually from Ariel Olivetti, a little matte medium. I can do this without it. You don't need it. You really don't. But it can make things kind of move around just a little more smoothly, and it's nice. So I'm going to use a little bit of that too. But it really will only be just a little bit. And honestly, it'll be a little bit when I remember. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my first color, and for that I want to stay really light and not too chromatic. So I've got here's what I've got. So this is my yellow oxide and a little bit of raw umber just to kind of cool it down. And then I'm going to use a little burnt sienna, which is totally defeating the purpose of my... Look, if I knew what I was doing, I'd be Frazetta. There we go. And that might be a little bit warm. I'm just going to cool it with a tiny little bit of blue.
What's the title of the piece you're drawing from?
Dude with a sword.
Dude in bikini with sword?
Yeah, I really don't know. And so I'm going really, really wet with my wash. Like it's really wet. Let me get a little bit of that stuff in there. Just like that. Like barely any at all. And then I'm going to wet this brush down too. And so when I go in here, ideally what I want this to do is just, you can see it's really not covering much. Like I just want to get the area that I'm trying to tone. And I don't want to paint the whole thing yet.
Asked about paper. This is Arches hot press.
And so the second brush is just making it blend. And I'm going to paint this all the way into my shadows, because the more layers I get, the darker it'll get. My shadows, it's fine to kind of get those colors in there. And what it's going to end up happening, a lot of my colors are going to be shifted weird, because I'm kind of using this a little bit everywhere just to start to tone it. And so where it needs to shift, then I'll just shift it. But see, I can make this nice and soft, just like that. Like this whole area here is very red and dark. But for now, I'm just going to get this kind of roughed in. And that's going to be pretty dark here too. I think I can kind of go dark there, the whole place. And Eric, I don't know about you, but one of the biggest places I really suffer is I have no patience.
Yeah.
And so I just burn through this stuff so fast. And I know it's not ideal. Like it's not but it's what I do. So questions from the chat, anyone?
Nothing real yet. I've been trying to find the Frazetta piece to post up on the.
Yeah, he's got a lot. It takes a while. Something else that Dave and I've been finding is you'll see one variation of the picture that's slightly colored different, and so you got to find one that almost a happy medium. There were quite a few that I saw, and they were just different colors and hue.
Yeah, which is fine. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It just means your picture will look probably different than what somebody that has the original one would have on their wall, but nah.
I don't know if you remember, Dave. So Dave and I did studies about, I don't know how long it was ago, a year or two ago, and I had blue light filter on my glasses, and Dave was constantly commenting why my colors were off. Actually, it might have been the phone. I can't remember. There was some blue light filter. All my colors were off. I don't know if you remember, Dave.
Yeah.
It was a little bit humorous for sure. So those kind of things matter. Also, studio lighting.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, to be totally honest, I think that tone is so important. Like value is so important that I kind of don't care about color that much. I mean, I do, and I'm going to try as much as I can to try and represent the color that's here. But if the color that I'm looking at here is, yeah, it doesn't matter so much. To me, anyway. Eric is a purist.
Purist as long as it works. If it doesn't, then it's well.
Yeah. I mean, you can't deny it. You are kind of a purist.
But can't help it, man.
Is it okay if I pop up the Frazetta piece that you're basing this off of?
Are you kidding? That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Which would be this.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
On over. There we go. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Do you want me to keep it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We should have done this from the beginning.
We're slow. Like, what's the name of the pencil you're using to draw and the paints?
So the pencil that I use to draw this right here, this is a Staedtler lead pointer. Or no, that's the sharpener. Lead holder. The lead, it looks like this. It just goes right in, just like this. I use a 2H. And then the lead pointer is like this. You stick it in, you spin it around, and you can sharpen your pencil. So and this is really the number one tool that I use really for all of my drawing. The brushes that I'm using, these are Rosemary & Co. brushes, which
Greg Staples recommended that.
That's exactly right. I can't paint like Greg Staples, but darn it, I'll get the brushes. So, yeah.
And then we use Prismacolor Dark Umber, I believe it's called, for the underdrawing and the shading.
Yeah, it's Prismacolor Dark Umber. I think you could probably use any kind of brown, really. And I like it because I can get my outline in, but I'm not overpowering it with black. That gets really difficult to solve for later. His blue's very orange. I'm just going to go ahead and just get the tone in right now. Just to get it started. So that's basically layer one. Wait. So that's basically layer one. There we go. And then I just start building from here. And so I want to start going into the shadows a little bit more and darkening them out. And for that, what we're using, Eric, we're using...
you can use ultramarine and burnt umber.
Yeah, so we got, I've got my ultramarine right here. And I've got my burnt umber here. And if I mix that, you can see I get a really nice dark color. It's very dark.
And then you
So
can lighten it and tone it and get a bit
what
more.
I'm going to do is I'm going to start to warm it up with, because he's very warm in a lot of his spots. And for this, I used burnt sienna. And I'm going to be going on pretty thin, so I can kind of get away with, even though that's a bit of a darker muted color. I'm going to be adding some of those warmer shifts, I think. Right now, I'm just going to start establishing some of my darks.
I'm cheating a little bit because I'm not just not cheating, but I'm using a little bit more burnt sienna than any kind of chromatic black, just so I can get some of that warmth. Because I just have the last study in mind, and I totally messed that up. So I'm trying to preserve some of that warmth.
Once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah.
Are you going to be doing any backgrounds on this?
No, no. 2 hours.
We have a little marshmallows in the back, right? I mean, it can't be that hard.
Well, you wanted the Addy, Billy, but that's another hour right there.
That's true.
Yeah. This is what it's like.
Perfectly rendered.
This is watercolors, right?
This is acrylic.
Acrylic. Now, this stage, you could be, it's easy to mistake it for watercolor because we really are going in. We let in the paper do a lot of the work here. This Arches paper, it's 100% cotton, so it accepts watered down paint very well. And use it to your advantage to get those nice washes in and get some blending going. And it's been a game changer for Dave and I, for sure.
Yeah.
Really recommend this paper. You
Where
can
do we
use.
learn that?
I'm sorry.
Where do we learn that?
Greg Staples.
Greg Staples.
Yeah. This is all Greg Staples with a little bit of Olivetti.
Yes, actually, quite a bit of Olivetti. I mean,
Yeah, the whole underdrawing and everything was pretty much.
And I have to say, we had Ariel on quite a while ago. I really wonder just how much more we would get out of having him on now. We've learned so much.
Oh man, I think it was a few days ago. I was like, you know what? I need to try what Ariel did, and so much of it worked. Back then, Dave and I was kind of the beginning of the journey, basically.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, you can only retain so much information at once, and yeah, it would be great having him on again.
It would.
Maybe I should send him a message.
You should.
See if he'll do that. I'm gonna say, Dave, I'm using a lot more burnt sienna than I thought I was going to.
Oh yeah.
But it makes sense, really. Something else, the color on my screen is way off, and if anyone in chat knows how to fix that in OBS, or just please let me know, because I cannot get it right. It's a lot warmer than what you're seeing on screen. It's really muted and odd. The more I mess with it, the worse it gets.
So I'm still really, really warm with all my shadows.
That's good.
I went, actually, it was pretty cool relatively using the blue and but so much of his shadow is really just warm, just with a few hits of kind of colder, darker shadow. So, and I really want to, try and so much as I can work in order and not get ahead of myself,
It's probably your lighting setup. Yeah, it's definitely my lighting is part of it. I got two very bright lights shining on me, and that's due to drawing. Like I have to have the brightest light I can find, and does mess with it a bit. But then again, David's got really bright light too, and his colors are perfect. So
Yeah, who knows with technology.
yeah, you're using a Brio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using an Elgato Basecamp Pro, and might have something to do with that.
Okay, a little bit more here.
Anyway. Definitely orange in the shadows.
Oh, sorry, what?
There's definitely orange, not burnt sienna, in the shadows.
Yeah, which is why like I'm gonna kind of.
I think it's I'm gonna take cadmium red light.
All right.
Let's see.
Bold choice.
Huh?
So it's a bold choice.
Sure is. I might have a good excuse. My bottle is clogged. I have cadmium orange. You know what? I have quin orange as well.
See what I'm going through right now. I'm putting stuff down, and I'm ending up with paint all over the place. That's just working too fast. But
this is also from Greg, the quin orange. If you can find it, buy it because they're discontinuing the pigment.
So. Cool. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting in some of my darker shadows, and I already have the color. I'm gonna use a patch of, you know what, I need to mix more. So this is just this is the Eric's mixture. This is just blue with black, or blue, ultramarine blue with burnt umber. So it doesn't look like I'm going to be using my my green at all.
Do you know if Frazetta did the backgrounds first?
No idea.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I don't know. You know, it's way too dark. Dang it.
Probably.
You generally, do you do the backgrounds first, or do you do the foreground?
I do the figure, and it's not the right way to work. But you know, maybe chalk that up to another thing. Here's part of the reason that I do that. I don't ever know where I'm going with the picture. I'm making it up as I go along when I'm doing my actual like art for myself. And so it makes it difficult to just throw in a background when I have no idea what it's even going to be.
Yeah, different artists do. I think it's Federico Ricci. Is that how you say his name? Hopefully I'm not saying it wrong. He does the background last because he likes to judge the atmospheric perspective afterwards. He wants to get it right. But I would say most artists do the background first, just because you can get it. You obliterate the white of the paper and you adjust the values of your main subject a lot better.
Right. If you have your picture really well laid out, you know exactly where you're going with it, then there are advantages.
Oh, yeah. Basically, if you know what you're doing.
If you know what you're doing, then there are advantages. Great advice from our channel.
You going to bake it, Dave?
No.
Oh yeah, that's probably something important to say too. We're very transparent right now. It's kind of what you want.
Yeah, it's all just really thin washes. Just getting them in just to get the shadows kind of established. And it is really going to be a case of
going to be push and pull.
Yes. So this is kind of stage one. I'm being very rough too. Like I'm not going to a smaller brush when I start roughing in his face. You know, I'm not here for. I want it to be decently accurate, but I also we have what time is it? 9:59. Eric, we're already an hour in, so yeah.
Time for a base, right?
Yeah.
Richard Pace is here.
Oh, great. Thank you for coming. He's great.
All right. Good a time as any.
To what?
Start putting in lights. Actually, something Greg does, which is we're not doing here, is Greg does the lighting first, and then puts the shadows in, which is again, you don't really know what you're doing.
Yeah, look, part of my problem is I'm a comic artist. This is just, it naturally fits with my established strong shadows kind of. I feel comfortable this way.
Yeah.
It throws me so much just doing this as it is because he's totally white,
Yeah.
which I'm gonna fix in actually just a minute. Let's do that.
And then also, if you want to, you can add opacity and then go back into shadows very carefully. But
Yeah,
that's all.
and I'm gonna do that. I think we're both gonna end up doing that. Like, there's a lot that we're kind of missing right now. Like, so what I've got right now is something, but it's not what it needs to be. So I'm gonna use my Indian yellow because it's a little brighter. And
Indian yellow is super transparent and very vibrant.
whoop, clean my brushes.
Have fun with that one.
Ye of little faith.
I can't find titanium white. I only have 50 bottles of it.
Some colors, like you add red. So I'm mixing up my color here and dropping stuff everywhere. And I add like the tiniest little corner of red, and it instantly makes it really red. And I'm gonna put in a little raw umber just to kind of cool it. All right. Now what I'm gonna do is just kind of dump this everywhere in the lights, and then I can start to tone from it. But it's too thick. And I forgot to. I haven't been using my matte medium. Forgetting. Get my other brush out here. All right. So I want to just start getting this pulled together. I have a long way to go from here. Not a lot of time, but I find when I have this much white on the page, it's really difficult for me to think, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely something to that. Like Dan DeSantis uses black tape when he tapes his paintings down to try and obliterate white and to try and get a baseline.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was that we spoke to. It might have been Dan too. Like, for example, his hair. You want to get that in early because that gets your mind thinking of contrast with the hair. You can judge values a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all different kinds of tricks like that, I guess. Yeah.
So I think if we really know what we were doing, I'd just be throwing down the exact color right now. Like, boom, there it is, and it's perfect. We don't. I sure don't. So I'm building to it. Impatiently. So now from here, I'm going to start to, I'm not going to go white yet. What I want to do is start getting some of the warms that he has in his skin tone and some more nuance into my shadows. Because he's actually very warm here.
Yes, yeah, that's why I just decided to stick with burnt sienna and a little bit of burnt umber all around.
Oh, NATO military. Yeah, sorry, I'm moving. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm a little off. All right. All right. This is kind of the color that I've got right now. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna put it on here and then.
You got yellow ochre going on, or?
Not right now. So we'll see. See if this works.
Yellow ochre and white is working out pretty.
All right.
I'm getting paint everywhere.
Henry says he likes a sword scabbard. Would it look better with it? Okay, yeah, fair enough. But
yeah, add another hour.
Yeah, only got so much time. This is a problem, Henry. It really is a time constraint on this.
Sorry, I'm back.
Try and get as much as we can get done. Everything's good? House not on fire?
Nope, not at all. Thankfully.
Good. Yeah. I tend to get the most impatient when I'm starting to put these colors in. Because it doesn't look right. But the only way to do it is, or at least the only way I know to do it, is this. And so this is like first pass. And I'm hoping that it'll come together. Don't know. And I really don't know. Is there like a number that I need to hit of doing these things before I can just say, okay, this is what's going to happen next? What do you think, Eric?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just reps. I don't think there's a real fast way to it.
Practice is what they say.
Yeah, just constant time with the brush.
And I say this all the time on, tutorial videos. You have to practice. You have to do, and for myself, I'm so